Welcome to the Humble Hoof Podcast. My name is Alicia Harlov. This is a podcast for both horse owners and hoof care professionals, offering discussions into various philosophies on the health of the hoof and soundness of your horse. Please check us out on Facebook or at thehumblehoof.com.
Trying to choose the right supplements for the right horses often feels like a chore, and you have enough chores as it is. Fortunately, there's Equithrive, whose mission is to make this whole nutrition equation easier on you and much more beneficial to your horses. Equithrive's lineup of pelleted supplements are developed with care, backed by science, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Not to mention picky eater approved. Whether you need advanced joint care for your equine athlete, gut, or metabolic support, Equithrive is your one-stop shop for feed tub fortification. Do your horses and yourself a favor and visit equithrive.com. Use the promo code HumbleHoof and get 20% off your first order, plus free and fast shipping nationwide. Don't forget to use HumbleHoof, all one word, to get 20% off your first order at equithrive.com.
A special thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Cavallo. For our Humble Hoof listeners, they are offering 20% off their Cavallo Trek hoof boots using the coupon code HRN at checkout. The Trek is the world's most popular and versatile hoof boot and Cavallo's toughest trail boot, while also doubling as an option for therapy or rehab. The front closure system makes it easily adaptable to various hoof shapes, and TPU upper design allows for maximum strength while minimizing weight for the comfort and ease of movement for your horse. These are recommended by vets and trainers and also loved as transport boots by barrel racers, show jumpers, dressage riders, and everyone in between. Again, for 20% off a pair of Treks, use the code HRN at checkout at cavallo-inc.com. As hoof care providers, I would say that those of us who are in a warmer climate all know that the summer can be really difficult. Between the heat, for some of us the humidity, the bugs, and just trying to make sure that we can fit all these horses on our schedule despite the weather, it can be a lot. Not only that, it can be unsafe to work in some of these high temperatures. So I reached out to two of my hoof care provider friends to see if they would chat with me about ways that they stay healthy and safe in these hot temperatures and ways that owners can kind of keep in mind of what to look for and what to think about as we're working on their horses in this weather. So I chatted with Beth Lewis of Equibalance Farrier Services out of New Hampshire and Cristina Winemiller in Arizona, two people that I absolutely adore and appreciate. And we talked about this topic. Awesome.
Yeah.
I know that Beth has been on the podcast before, but Cristina, I don't think you have. So why don't we just start with Beth? You can start and just say, what area you work in, and then Cristina, you can tell us too, because it'll give us context for obviously us talking about working in the heat when we're as hoof care professionals.
Okay. My name is Beth Lewis, and I'm the owner of Equibalance Farrier Services, and I run my practice in New England, specifically New Hampshire, Maine, and a little bit in Massachusetts.
Awesome. Yeah, similar area to me.
Yep.
All right. And what about you, Cristina?
I am a hoof care provider in Prescott, Arizona, but I also work in Phoenix and Flagstaff in the Verde Valley, and I'm a student through PHCP and the International School of Integrative Hoof Care as well.
Nice, yeah. And I know Cristina and Beth personally in person, and they're both wonderful. So I'm really excited that you guys could hop on today. And we're going through, I guess we can't call it a heat wave here. First of all, you'd be offended, Cristina, if you heard that we were calling what we were in a heat wave. But we're going through a warmer than normal time. Today's 90 degrees. But I think you said, how warm is it in Arizona right now?
Oh, so Prescott's quite a bit cooler, but in Phoenix, I will be working on Wednesday, and it's supposed to be 118. And as the summer months go on, it will probably be 120, a little over 120 in the middle of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So I've had a lot of, I'm sure you guys have seen posts too of friends who are in hoof care who are dealing with working in high temperatures. And so it's something that I thought would be really good to talk about, not only for tips for like other farriers and trimmers, but also for owners and what they can do in order to like keep us healthy and make sure that we're doing okay. And making it an enjoyable experience for us and the horses too. I mean, they're not loving this heat either. So yeah, I mean, I just want to say that I am not made for warm temperatures, especially with humidity. So I could trim all day long in the winter. I mean, I've trimmed in like, single digits before because I just keep putting on more layers and I get warm trimming. But in the summer, there's, like it's harder to stay cool for me in the summer than to keep myself warm in the winter. So I don't know if you guys feel that too.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I just left a stop and the client brought out a battery operated huge Milwaukee fan. And she said, I bought this specifically for when you come, point it where you want to. And in her barn had fans going. So I put it on the back of my van where I was working. And that made a huge difference. I looked at her. I said, thank you so much. I said, you're the first one who's offered me a fan outside of having your horse have a fan. And I was so tickled by that because it's 90 degrees, but we have high humidity.
Yeah.
It is very sticky. I'm already sweating through my lightweight pants that I wear. I can't do shorts. I don't like flies biting my legs. I don't like the hoof clippings getting in my shoes.
Yeah.
So I have to wear pants, and tank tops are my go-to thing in this weather, and just working slowly because I feel as though that with my energy draining, because you can't escape the heat. When in the wintertime, I can move around and warm up and put more layers on. In the summer, there's only so many layers you can take off.
Yeah.
You go in the shade and it's still just as 90 degrees as it was standing in the sun. And I get like claustrophobic with the heat.
Yeah.
So electrolytes is a big thing for me. I put tons of that in my water. I have them in my purse. I have them in the glove box of my van. I tell whoever's working or my apprentice, I'm like, please help yourself. We don't want anybody getting too hot or overheated. But owners providing fans is such an awesome thing for me, just to keep the flies away and the air moving.
Oh yeah.
Oh, bless her.
I know.
Yeah.
I would love,
Totally.
like, fans are a huge luxury to me. Like, I used to try to bring my own around, but I just had like a little Makita, well, it was a good size Makita fan, but it took batteries. I would drain a battery with like one horse. And so I stopped doing that because it was a little bit impractical. But if owners have fans if I could ask owners to do anything as a hoof care provider, it would be make sure that I am undercover in shade. And a fan would be amazing because I can take care of, like Beth said, like bringing my own drinks and electrolytes and things to keep cool that way. But keeping the air circulating is huge. Have you noticed that, Cristina? Do you have anything like that?
Yeah. So I think that for me, being in the desert and it's so dry here, I think right now our humidity is 20 to 30% because we're in monsoon season. And that's really not a lot compared to what y'all have to work with. But the thing that I can lean on is that I can use evaporative cooling to really make myself cool. And I have a trail running and an endurance riding background. So I use a lot of the strategies I used then now. So, for example, I have an ice bandana that you can kind of get from different running stores, but there's literally a zippered pocket that you can shove ice cubes in and zip it back up and put it around your neck. And that's really helpful. Like Beth said, electrolytes, ice is your best friend. And then sometimes when it does get a little bit humid, especially sometimes at night, because even though it's dark, it's still about 100 degrees at night. So,
oh my gosh.
I know, but, you can use like peppermint oil in a diluted spray, wintergreen rubbing alcohol, and just spraying that like on my arms or my neck really helps with cooling me down, especially when the humidity starts to creep up a little bit. But I'm sure it's nothing compared to what y'all have to work with.
I was just trying to figure out on my app if I can see what our humidity is. I don't know if Beth has an app. Oh, 53%.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
And that's down from what it was yesterday. We've been getting these intermittent rain showers where it pours for about 10, 15 minutes. You step outside and it's like this weird fogginess because it's all evaporating off the super hot, dry ground. And it's such thick, swampy air.
Yeah.
Then, like, when you're working in a barn and it's very moist, and that's one thing that I don't prefer to work in is wash stalls because it's so damp and swampy in those areas, and the mats are slippery, that I tell people I'd rather work at the end of the barn. I don't care if it's in the sun, it's just drier. I crave being dry, and all summer long, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't envy that at all.
Yeah, I will say there was one barn that I went to. Actually, it was a barn that Beth had trimmed at before too, where the woman had us trim in her garage, and it was just a concrete floor, and it was a super humid, hot, sticky day, and the horse spooked, and I slipped because the concrete was so just like gross, and it hadn't even rained. So that's another thing, is a safe place to work. I mean, that's all year round,
absolutely.
But yeah.
I'm finding too that I'm strategizing my work hours around the really early morning and sometimes into the night, and I'm trying to leave my middle of the day open so I can, catch up on books, accounts, other things that are related to my business. Or, for example, this week, I'm actually going to try cryotherapy in the middle of my workday.
So what does that entail?
So hopefully that'll make it better. I think, I've never done it, but a client of mine recommended it because I was, talking to her about my carpal tunnel and my back and all the things that, us healthcare providers tend to lament over. And she's like, well, you should try cryotherapy. I mean, it's summer. You should go and feel better. So I guess you go in and they have a room where basically it gets really cold for like 3 minutes and then you come out. And I think it's supposed, obviously it's supposed to be therapeutic, but I'm kind of looking forward to going from super hot to really cold and then hopefully feeling refreshed.
Is it supposed to be like a cold plunge? But not water?
Kind of. Well, I think this place I'm thinking of, they have like ice baths that you can go in, but this is different. I don't think I actually go in any water, but I'll have to let you know what the experience is like.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a hoof rehab facility, one main focus of ours is forage. I want the horses here to have safe, tested forage available 24/7 without the risk of becoming obese. I've spent years looking for the ideal slow feeder for us, and we have found it with Hay Boss feeders. When I tell you that my Hay Boss XL feeder has cut my feeding time by 90%, I mean it, and it might even be an understatement. The covered feeders with integrated slow feed nets allow for all my horses here to have access to hay all the time, which is healthy for their guts and minds. They're also not able to completely binge all at once because the nets keep them in check. They're available all over North America right now, but side note, if you're in New England, I got mine from Mountain Lane Farm, who delivered it right to me and showed us how to set it up and use it. We can't imagine our lives without it here. Yeah, and I guess, have either of you guys experienced anything like heat exhaustion or heat stroke? Because I know that's one thing that has been, like a huge concern working in this kind of weather. You have, Beth?
Yeah, I've come very, very close to passing out. And I used to pass out a lot when I was a teenager, riding horses in the hot sun when you work for a training barn and you have, 10 horses to exercise. So I know my body well enough that when I start seeing the little sparklies in my vision, that is my cue to stop working, sit down, cool my core temperature down. I've laid down on the ground before, and because I'm prone to migraine, so that's the next thing that happens if I don't pass out is I'll get a migraine. And I've been doing this for about 13 years now. I have no problem looking at a client or messaging the rest of my day and saying, I'm having some heat-related health issues. I need to cancel because it's too hot. And I just tell people, and I always warn people, like this whole week, I said, look, the temperatures are very hot. we're going to try to just push through the best we can. And if I can't make it, I'll make the call earlier in the day. Because like 2 weeks ago, we had some 100-degree temperatures. And I just messaged everyone and said, I'll get to you if I can. If it's risking my safety, then I'm not going to work.
Yeah.
And if people are not okay with that, then they can find somebody else that wants to work in this heat. Because it's too dangerous.
Yeah, it is really hard. And I know that, Beth, you struggled with this before because I remember there's one week that you had a really packed schedule. And so you couldn't reschedule. I remember you did a post about it on Facebook saying that you were going to like work through the day as you could, but you didn't have the time to just move clients somewhere else and you're going to try to push through. And that's like a reality I think a lot of us go through is that when temperatures are this high and we want to be able to cancel, it's like we have to make those decisions of where are these horses going to go? Like where are we going to fit them in our schedule?
Right. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. I had somebody message me today and said, it's really hot. If you need to reschedule, let me know. I'm available the end of the week or next week. And I'm like, I have no opening until the first week of August. So where do I put people? So I just try to push through. And then if I can work after work or after hours, that's really challenging to me. My other half works third shift, so I have to get my daughter off to school or her camp program. So I can't do early mornings. And then if I have to pick her up at 3:30, 4 o'clock, it's challenging for me to take her, who's already hot and cranky, to do the rest of my day at that 4 to 8 p.m. time. Before I had my daughter, I was super flexible and I can't be. So I get really trapped in between just going, I'll do what I can. If I need to book another day or a weekend, I'll do it for really good clients. But it's just a challenge to fit everybody back in. Wintertime is a little bit more flexible in that regard because I'm not as worried with horses that are not in work and if they're barefoot, and we've kept a really great schedule. So I always tell my clients, we keep really good, strict scheduling that if we have to go a week or two, it's not that big of a deal with your horse. But if we're always stretching the schedule, then I'm going to be challenged with how their feet are being maintained. So if we have to reschedule and they're on a great short cycle, then it's no big deal if they go a week or two. So that's kind of how I justify it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an excellent point, Beth. I love that. And I relate too to the struggles with a lot of us are parents. And so our hours that we can work are limited. And it's especially hard in the summer because those hours happen to be when it's generally hottest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all of us have our own horses that we have to take care of. So something I struggle with, because Cristina, you mentioned working in the earlier hours, is if I'm taking care of my horses in the morning, there's only like so early that I physically as a person can function if I wake up that early. So like, waking up and getting everything done and then going to trim, it's hard. Summer is definitely a time when it's probably the most difficult for me. Even living in New England with snowstorms in winter, I would say that summer is the most difficult between figuring out the heat and humidity and scheduling and making everything work.
The one good thing about summertime is it's light longer. So if I can do a after normal business hours appointment, it's light out.
Yeah.
It doesn't get dark till 8:30, 9 o'clock now time. It's dark at 4:15, and then that is problematic when it's cold and dark. And it's hard to catch up after work hours in the wintertime. So that's one good thing about the summer is we have daylight as a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So I know that we've kind of been jumping around a little bit, but back to the mention of like getting sick from the heat. I actually, fortunately, haven't struggled with heat exhaustion or heat stroke. I've also been very, I probably am a little bit of a chicken. Like if I see in the forecast that it is going to be pretty hot, I try to see if I can swap anyone to like one of my, weekend days or something. But what are some symptoms that you might look for if you are like talking to another hoof care provider and kind of warning them of what to watch for if there's going to be some heat related health issues creeping up? I know, Beth, you mentioned like seeing stars or whatever out of the corners of your eyes.
Yeah. Getting shaky, losing energy, not being able to focus and moving really slowly. When I start to feel like I'm moving in slow motion, that's when I go, I'm about to have a problem because I'm getting overheated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I haven't struggled with or experienced heat exhaustion yet, knock on wood. But I do recall moments where I was working and I stopped because I'm like, wait a minute, why do I feel cold? So I think that once your brain starts to confuse some of those feelings, that's probably when another sign that you should take a break.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also, I know one thing that I was always told is hydrate before you feel thirsty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So just
I'm
keeping
really
yourself
Absolutely.
bad with that.
Yeah.
I tell my clients to like offer me a bottle of water and make sure I grab a bottle of water from somebody and put it down and not drink it.
Yeah.
I can't say like how much I appreciate when clients look out for us like that. Like when somebody comes out with a glass of ice water with electrolytes in it. Every once in a while it happens and it's just the nicest thing. But that brings up a good point too, that sometimes when I'm feeling really hot, if I don't have something cold to drink, I'm not as likely to want to drink it. So I have like a big cooler with my drinks, but also because, for gluing, it gets so hot that the glue, even if it's not a fast set, will start to set up in the tip before you even dispensed it. So that's been really helpful. And the other thing I've been doing too, now that I'm thinking about the ice chest, is I'll bring 2 shirts and I'll keep one shirt in the ice chest in the ice water, and then I'll swap them out when the other one starts to dry.
That's so smart.
It's been really helpful.
Idea.
Yeah.
And just changing a shirt can really change your mood too, because it's dry.
Yes.
And you feel better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the horses sometimes have a hard time standing for us in the heat.
Yeah.
But I haven't completely found ways to mitigate that other than, I have one client who has like a little swamp cooler that she attaches to her hose that she points at her horse when he's getting done. And then there's those like cooling vests for people, but there's a company that makes them for horses and she'll drape it over his top line and that can help. But I'm not sure if something like that would help in a really humid environment like where y'all are at.
I think one of the hardest things, at least in my area, is it's bug season. And so the horses are constantly moving around because of the bugs. And maybe, I know obviously the horses are bothered by the bugs, but I think that the hardest thing on me for that is that then it's harder to hold them. And then I'm getting hotter and working up a sweat because I'm trying to hang on to these horses that aren't standing well. So if I could say something about that, it's, make sure that the horses have fly spray or have some kind of like bug repellent wiped on their legs if they don't stand spray. Please don't spray the horse while I am standing holding a foot because then it gets in my face and my eyes. But make sure that they're, there's or a fan like we're talking about before that will help get rid of bugs because they don't like flying in the breeze. So
yeah, I have a pair of those shoe fly leg wraps that when I'm doing glue on work and I don't want a horse to stomp, that I'll put those on and that makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
I just keep them in my van, and whenever I get one that's stomping, and even if we douse them in fly spray, there are some really aggressive flies that I swear are just immune to the sprays now. And I carry my own fly spray because sometimes changing whatever brand it is to something different can just kind of change the environment and get them to move along. But having those fly wraps, I don't use them very often, but when I'm doing like serious work and really need a horse to stand and it's not sedated and I'm like, I can't have them smash this foot or move because they'll pull a foot to stomp another foot, I'll get out my fly wraps and put those on them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Idea. Yeah. I wanted to get some of those. I have some boarders that have them and they work very, very well. The shoe fly ones.
Yeah, I get mine on Amazon. They last a while too, and I just wash them at the end of the season and they hold up well.
Awesome. Yeah.
I have a question for y'all. Do you have to work more days per week when it gets this hot so that you aren't working on as many horses per day?
I would say yes, but it's more, I think it's sort of coincided with the fact that I was injured in May. So I shortened all my days because of my knee injury to kind of ease back into it. And then I realized, oh, wait, this is actually much more doable in this weather than trying to shove, a bajillion horses into one day and feeling terrible at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I have added an extra day in my week, which I don't love. I'm kind of, I get really protective of my time with my family and my home.
Yes.
But, I've made that adjustment, and I think it's helped a lot for my physical and mental health for right now.
Yeah, I keep Fridays as light or overflow days, and that's when I book my own private appointments, whether I go to massage or chiropractic work or a haircut, dentist, whatever. And that's like if I need to move somebody because it's too hot, then I just fill into my Friday as my overflow day, which I end up working like almost every Friday through the summertime because I need the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so funny because you were talking about how in the summer it is longer hours, but I think I end up bumping up a few horses to a shorter cycle in the summer because some just grow so fast. And I know I've seen all the arguments on Facebook from various people about how the growth doesn't change in the summer and blah, blah, blah. But the stuff I see, I come to a foot that looks like it hasn't been done in 3 months sometimes. Yeah. And I'm like, I just did them 5 weeks ago.
Yep.
So
100%.
Yeah, I end up having the same amount of clients, but shoving them into a shorter cycle. And then, we end up with longer days and working more. And summer is definitely kind of like a race to the finish, Yeah.
Every year I take the first week of July off, which I really started looking forward to because it gives me a good break and resetting myself.
Yeah.
And then I can just enjoy summertime for a week rather than it being such a drag of how hot it is, how many horses I have to get done, emergency appointments. So if that wants me to go back out and change something, like I have to fit all that into my week. That I've been very strict about taking the week off. It's also my daughter's birthday. My mom and I rent a camp and we just hang out at the lake, and it's so refreshing to look forward to that week. And then it splits up the summer and I just have like just a couple more months and then we're into September and October and we'll be refreshed again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pro tip.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea too, because the feet here are super hard. And I know that as summer starts, they're just going to be the hardest that they are all year long. So I feel like I am working harder, not just because of the heat, but because I'm wrestling with such hard feet that are also growing a ton of material. So taking a week off right beforehand is like a great way to prepare myself mentally and physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, Beth, because I know that you have more stops to go today. But do either of you have like last minute tips? I know this was a kind of a quick conversation, but do either of you have last minute tips of like ways to keep yourself, healthy and safe in the summer?
I would just say drink as much water and fluids and electrolytes, because I don't think we realize how much we sweat in a day too. And just keeping yourself topped up on fluids, taking breaks. Another pro tip that I have that I do in the summertime is around that 2:00 period, especially if I don't stop and eat lunch, I go find a little mom and pop ice cream shop and get myself a big cone of soft serve. That brings me so much joy and renews my energy because I get that sugar hit and it's so cool and creamy. And that turns my mood right around in the afternoon. So I save that for a real hard day. I go, I'm going to go get some ice cream on my way to my next clients. I know where all the local ice cream shops are.
Awesome. I love that.
Love it.
Cristina, did you have any?
I think the best thing we can do is exactly what Beth said and hydrate as much as we can, because I think all of us have been drinking all day. And at the end of the day, been like, wait, I haven't peed all day long.
Yeah, because we're like sweating it out it's crazy.
Yes. So I think that's super important. And then, I like the professional boundaries that Beth was mentioning, because at the end of the day, if we're not able to work or finish our work week, that is, that's really detrimental. So I think taking care of yourself is something that needs to be prioritized, especially in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, if we are not feeling great, then, we're not able to help as many horses. So it's as important for our health, but also our clients should care about that for our health, but also because, to do our best work and to keep us going for all the horses we need to see, we need to be, safe and healthy for all these hot months.
Absolutely. Yeah. To be a steward for the horse, we have to be a steward for ourselves as well.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Is there anything, I know this was like super fast and a bit unplanned, but I think we hit some really good like key points. Is there anything that we kind of missed out on? I don't want to steal all your time.
No, I think this was great, and it got me thinking a little bit too that self-care is important, and I think all of us face that summertime burnout, and identifying it and knowing one struggling in the summertime and validating your feelings and going, you're not alone. That by August, I feel like I'm a zombie just trying to get through the rest of the summer, because it's a busy time. It's show season right now, and I've got a lot of clients that need a lot of stuff done yesterday, where the winter time is a lot more flexible. And I mean, when it snows here and you cancel, nobody really complains. But a lot of times when you say, hey, I can't make it, it's too hot, and somebody goes, well, I have a horse show this weekend, my horse's feet need to get done. It's stressful, and I think too there's an element of compassion fatigue when we're not able to get done everything that we should, and some horses have to take the back burner while we do a little bit of self-care. I struggle with that because I want to be able to help every single horse that needs me, and sometimes at the end of the day I just go, I'm sorry I can't get to your horse, and I'll see when I can get back out immediately, type thing. And it's stressful, it's tough, but it's something we all deal with.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome.
I just want to say that I really appreciate your podcast, and every time there's a new one, I have a group of clients that I go, oh, this would benefit them, and I send it to them. So I really appreciate the opportunity to not only be on them, because it is kind of fun to be like, by the way, I was on this episode, or go listen to this one with this person, or, so that's always fun for me to have my clients hear that I'm out in different aspects of hoof care, offering advice or receiving advice. And so thank you for the work that you do with your podcast. I know I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thank you so much.
Say it better.
Thank you so much. And I mean, I obviously couldn't do it without guests like you guys, and I'm so appreciative, and also obviously appreciative of you guys having, being a support in my hoof care journey and being willing to chat about hooves at any time, not just for the podcast. So thank you both for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, totally. I think it's hard too in the summer when we're working so hard, and we have to remember that we get to do this job, and it's most of our dream jobs, and it's so cool, and it's so much fun, and it has its ups and downs, but I'm just really grateful every day to be able to do it. So I'm glad I get to do it with people like y'all that inspire me and are always willing to educate me. And both of you in particular have been such huge roles in my hoof care journey, and I don't know that I tell you guys that enough. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a great rest of your day, you guys. Thank you again for being on this. You guys are both awesome, and stay cool, especially with the crazy heat in Arizona. I can't even imagine, but I'm going to say, I can't do that. So good for you. But yeah, I'm sure I'll speak with you guys later today.
Okay.
In like 5 minutes. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Hopefully I didn't make you too late,
ladies.
Beth.
Thank you, both of you. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Likewise.
Bye.
I always say that I'm slightly more hoof obsessed than the average person, and chances are, if you're listening to a hoof care podcast, you are too. So we should probably be friends. Feel free to find me on Facebook or email me at thehumblehoof@gmail.com.